Please be seated. The court is now in session. During today's sessions, the Chamber continues hearing the testimony of Mr. Chukrin, and TCW 126 is also a reserved witness for today. Before we hand over to the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties to put some questions to the witness, the Chamber would like to instruct the greffier of the trial chamber to report on the current status of the parties to the proceedings. And San, good morning, Mr. President and Your Honors. Today, the parties to the proceedings are present except Mr. Nuon Chia, who is present in his holding cell through remote participation. Today, the Chamber continues to hear the testimony of Mr. Chukrin, who is present right in the courtroom. Thank you, Mr. President. The President, what about the reserve witness? Is the witness ready? Response, Mr. President, TCW 126 is available and awaits a call from the Chamber. The President, thank you. We would like to now hand over to the prosecution and the lead co-lawyers for the civil party to put some questions to the witness, and please share the time allocated to both counsels for this questioning.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour, Mesdames et Messieurs les juges. Bonjour à tous. Avant que Monsieur le procureur prenne la parole, pour les 5 à 10 minutes qu'il souhaite
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all of the parties present here. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to make a couple of points before the prosecutor carries on for the 10 minutes that he had earlier requested. I would like at this stage to suggest that the witness perhaps offer part of his time to the prosecution, because we don't need a complete hour. However, after the various incidents that have arisen recently, we do understand that the prosecution may need a little extra time, and we fully agreed that it should go to any party that requests extra time. However, there can be no question that we would accept that this time should be taken out of the civil parties' time. The civil parties are not kind of sub-party, some kind of accessory to the prosecution or a subsidiary thereto. And in all civil law systems, it is a fully fledged party with full rights that are equal to those of all of the other parties present. In other words, to plead and to ask questions. We have shared objectives with the prosecution. That is absolutely true, and they are many and varied. But we have others that are distinct. And our vision of this trial is different, and we see it in different ways. The first questions that were raised about vulnerable people, suffering, fear, the new people, all of these questions were raised by the civil parties. So there can be no question of asking whether the civil parties are more or less important than this or that party, or more or less useful. They are distinct, and that is all.
The President, actually the Chamber does not wish to say anything about this. The Chamber has allocated full day for counsels to put questions to the witness, and it is now time for you to either share this time equally with the co-prosecutors, or whatever decision would be made would be up to you. And the Chamber has offered the floor and the time to both parties to the proceedings. And yesterday, the co-prosecutor would like the full day for putting the question, and would like some time from the time allocated to the civil parties for putting a few more questions. And the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties did not oppose such a request. Then the Chamber takes that the lead co-lawyers for the civil party and co-prosecutors could have already discussed about this. And that's why we ruled and entertained such a request made by the co-prosecutors. The Chamber has never ever regarded the lead co-lawyers as a very small party to the proceeding. We treat the party equally, and we believe that the time allocated already speaks for itself for this acknowledgement. You may now proceed, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, with the questions.
May it please you, Mr. President, good morning. Mr. President, Your Honours, and good morning to you, Mr. Chukrin. At the end of my questioning yesterday, I was asking you questions about the evacuation of Kampot in April 1975. You covered this in a previous OCIJ interview, E3/361, English 007, 66451, French 00268883, and Khmer 001-94466, and you said this: I did participate in the evacuation of the people from Kampot following instructions of Pamok and Sambit. My question for you is this: what exactly did you do when you participated in the evacuation of Kampot?
Response. I already mentioned about this already yesterday. That happened on the 16th of April rather than on the 17th. And by then, all population of the city was fully evacuated.
So what was your role and what did you do?
Response. As I stated earlier, I was a soldier, and I believe I made it clear already yesterday concerning this role.
What did you do?
Response. After the whole population was evacuated from Kampot, went to our respective units.
What reasons were given to the dwellers of Kampot for them being evacuated?
Response. The reason was that enemies would be among the population and they would pose some risk to us, and for safety reason they had to be evacuated.
So were all the dwellers of Kampot considered to be enemies at this time?
Response. No, they weren't. But the war was still going on, and we had no reason to treat all civilians as enemies, and I did never receive any instructions as such, but we were advised that during such time, if the enemies attacked us, if the population had not been evacuated, it would pose some risk.
You said yesterday that even a baby would have known in 1973 that city dwellers were the enemy. Was that still the case for Kampot, or had it changed?
Response. We never treated anyone, including a baby, as an enemy because the war was not yet fully over. Although at some part the war was over, but in Phnom Penh the war was still going on, and we never treated young people or children, including babies, as enemies. because we had to liberate the cities and we never waged war with the civilians. Indeed, we treated other opponents like the soldiers of the other party opposing us as our enemies, but we never treated civilians as our enemies.
Was there a hospital or medical facilities in Kampot at this time? And were patients evacuated?
Response. Yes, there were some hospitals in Kampot, but there were very few patients or inpatients because their families could have already transferred them before that.
I want to move on to another subject. You spoke yesterday about the army being purified from the beginning soon after 1975. You covered this in your previous OCIJ interview, E3/361, English 007 66455, French 0026 8889, and Khmer 001 94466. And commenting or giving evidence to the investigators, you said this about these arrests of the army commanders, and I quote, "Without the centre level having ordered it, high-level military commanders like this could not have been arrested." Why would the centre have to order such arrests?
Response. I do not think I understand this very clearly, but I believe that without orders, such commanders could have never been arrested. So any arrest could have been rendered through the orders from the center.
Thank you. On the issue of orders, I'd like to cover another extract of a previous interview, E3/361, English 007 66454, French 0026 8886 through to 87, and Khmer 001 94469. And you said this: "The decisions and plans of the leadership were to create internal security and defend the country. We had no choice. Each person had to follow the orders of the Standing Committee. If not, they would, without fail, be arrested and disappear." My question for you is this: who communicated the orders of the Standing Committee to you?
Response. I never received direct orders from the center. At the southwest zone, I received direct orders from my commander and Tamok in particular, from whom they could have received further orders. I don't know. So I can say for sure that I had never received such direct orders from the center at the southwest zone.
Thank you. What orders did you receive for creating internal security in the country?
Response. When the war was over, the whole army of the province had been ordered to be transferred to the border area altogether.
Thank you. Mr. Chukrin, thank you for answering my questions. Mr. President, can I at this stage please hand over very briefly to my national colleague who has literally one or two quick questions. Thank you very much.
National Co-Prosecutor, good morning, Mr. President and Your Honors. Good morning, parties to the proceedings. And a very good morning again to you, Mr. Chuk Rin. Perhaps this is the last moment the Co-Prosecutor will be putting questions to you, and we only have very few remaining questions. Yesterday, my learned colleague already put a few questions to you concerning Mr. Nuon Chea, and yesterday you had not responded to the questions I put to you. May I now ask you the same questions, and I hope you will be able to respond to them. Yesterday, Mr. Keith Rayner quoted your statement before the co-investigating judges. Document E3/361 ERN in Khmer 00194464, English ERN 00766449, French ERN 00268881. You said, I was angry when Nuon Chea said that he was not responsible for what had happened between 1975 and 1979. He was a senior cadre. Now, my simple question to you is, why were you angry at Nuon Chea when he said he would not be responsible for what had happened during this period of time? Response. I thank you very much indeed for putting this question to me. And the reason I would like to emphasize in my response is that I have observed the trial proceedings, and I also noted his roles, and I also learned about the line of questioning the co-prosecutors put regarding the line and political policy and platform. Indeed, when I was asked to come to Phnom Penh, I was not attending a meeting, but I was attending study session attended by many people from across the country. We were lectured on political lines and other matters. I believe I made it clear in my response yesterday because we were lectured on the very rigorous political line of the CPK lectured by my superiors, and I would not wish to tell you more about this because it is because of this kind of political line that everyone had problems. Everyone had to suffer greatly, both civilians and soldiers alike. I, as soldiers, did not know much about other matters other than being ordered by Nuon Chea to cultivate rice, to grow crops. We were not instructed to be on military trainings. Instead, we had to do farming as soldiers. And Nuon Chea was the one who ordered all this. And I think he is the right person to know about this. And when he didn't say he would be responsible, it is strange. And I believe that the CPK in its statement made it very clear about how they controlled the population, and among the CPK, these senior leaders were the one behind all these plans. And when I attended study sessions, I saw some senior leaders, and I also observed the documents, the document being used in the study sessions, the documents that were all the that were parts of all the problems that happened in the following years. And I never imagined that such policy would be very dangerous like that. Co-prosecutor.